Okay, everybody, this is my spoiler review of the Succession series finale. Before I jump into this, please subscribe so you can check out other shows I review. I will be doing The Idol next, and also do celebrity interviews and movie reviews. So, jumping into my review of this big series finale, I am so conflicted about this one. I really am still, while I'm doing this review, trying to process everything I just watched, how I feel about it, and I wasn't that satisfied, and it does the same thing Succession has been doing for their whole run, where it just sets up Ken that he's going to do something and he fails. And it goes back to Ken every single time with that. And that Shiv is going to do something just silly every time. And it finishes that way too. So I think if you look back at the show, I think what disappoints me about the finale is that it felt like the way season 4 was going, that it was doing something different. And that's why I think this season I was loving, because like especially the Living Plus episode with Kendall, it was doing something different with Kendall and interesting, and they reverted back to what we've already seen 100 times in this show, where Kendall flops, he fails. So why was that all that build up again to get to that same point? And then if you're like, oh, this is a tragedy showing these bad people, that makes sense, and that worked for me. But there's also part of it too where it doesn't work for me, because Tom ends up on top, which is like fine. That it's not a show you're supposed to look at like who's gonna end up on top, but Tom's there, and I don't like Tom. He's not a good person either, and I actually got more satisfaction out of seeing Greg snake on him, and then seeing Tom on top. You're kind of like, okay, and then Shiv goes back to that, but maybe that flip of Shiv was just too quick, and that variable for me is that the Mattson part of it. And if I know Shiv, she still also has a lot of pride, like all these siblings do, clearly. And Mattson royally screwed her over, and it just happened. And then for her to side with him, the logic of it isn't very logical, because Mattson can drop Tom at any moment. So why is she just trusting of that? So that was a little like maybe forced in to get to that resolution they wanted. And I feel like maybe this season was too like Mattson got everyone to where they eventually ended up, and it's essentially not Tom who got the power. Mattson gave Tom the power. So maybe I'm disappointed in the sense that a lot of this season, how the show wrapped up, was decided by a new character in Mattson and not about everyone's relationships intertwined with each other. It was just always going to be, this is that character we've known from the beginning. They end up back where they started, and this is what they're going to just end up doing again and again and again, and it's going to go all the way through the end of this show. That's where I feel a little like bad taste about this finale, that it just did its same card trick again. And I think it's effective, though. I think that it hit really hard when Rome was sitting there where he started, and it hit where Kendall is just completely broken. Like people say, he's like this big baby in a suit, and that Shiv is that scorpion that Tom was talking about. So I think things line up well. I think it's a clean finale, but really what I loved about this show, and my favorite things about this finale, and I can use, is the acting. I think the acting is what really stands out, because a lot of people go crazy, bonkers about the writing with this show, but I do think the acting is where it really is taken to the next level, where the writing, this felt like a series finale. Like, I've seen the series finale a couple of times. This didn't feel like it was game-changing, and I think that this show is very repetitive, and it loops, and I thought this season was different because it wasn't doing that, and I still don't think it was doing that. That's what I liked about it so much, but it's disappointing it ended in that looping fashion again. So I liked it. I didn't love it, but even if it went, let's say, the route of them even teaming together, right, where people like seeing them happy, even that sequence with them felt like any finale you've seen before, and it just kept taking its time, and like, okay, whoop-de-doop-de-doo, like, let's go, come on. I don't know. I think it mixes its messages up too, because it is a satire about these people. It was always going to be tragedy about these people, right? But then there's people like praising last week and how much they felt for Roman and related to it. This is someone supposed to hate, That's where I think it's tough when you invest in characters and maybe you just feel like, okay, I'm just watching a message play out on a loop because, like, the character arcs are flat. It's hard for me to, like, say if that works or not. Is it worth the time I put into that? I don't know. I don't know if emotionally that maybe makes it feel like this was a flat ending, but it does line up with what the show has given you. This is what Succession is. And it's fitting. It works for the message. I get that. But I feel like they've teased where they could do better with growing character arcs changing things up a bit and having them affect each other more where it doesn't always have the same result for 4 seasons. It's not a movie, you know what I mean? Like a movie, I think that works better, and a shorter story that works better. But a show, that's where it can feel kind of repetitive. So I'm going to give this one a 7.9 because the acting all around is incredible. I think that it will go down as a good show in my eyes. I don't think it's amazing. I think it gets overpraised to death. But as a show, I'd probably give it an 8.5. Good, very good, but not incredible. And that's really a lot of like just qualms with season 3 in general. But really like season 1, liked season 2, and I really like this season overall, even though maybe these last 2 episodes I haven't been the biggest fan of. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on this. Let me know down below what you thought of this finale. And please, like I said, if you can subscribe, that means so much. And I read every comment, try to respond as many as I can. Thank you guys for joining me this season. I hope you enjoyed my reviews. I really enjoyed your comments. And I'll see you next time.